Hi, welcome, welcome. You're muted.
I see. Hey, good to see you.
Hi, hi. Good to see you. The others are coming also. Hey, Alejandra. How are you, my dear?
I need to mostly mute myself though, because I've guests with little children who are very noisy.
Okay, cool. Yeah, mute yourself and then you're mute what you want to share. Carlos, we don't see you and we don't hear you. If you hear us, open your camera or your mic. Alex, the same. We don't see you and we don't hear you. Ah,
Hello.
now we see you. Hey, Alejandra. Where are you, my dear?
Fine.
Where are you? Are you still by the coast?
Good to see you. Yes, I'm home.
Nice. Very cool. Hi, Jeremy. Welcome, welcome. Oh, nice new faces. Also, I'm so glad to get to know the ones I don't. Raquel, hey, from Mexico. Welcome.
Hello from Mexico. Hello from.
Really cool to see everyone.
Yeah, really nice
Hello.
to see you all.
Good to be here.
Carlos, where are you? Where did you join us from?
I'm joining from Berlin.
Nice. All around. So we have two Germany, one France, US, Mexico, France. And Anton, you're in Germany also, right?
Canada.
Ah, okay. Yeah, you're in Canada. So we have from all over.
And you are joining from?
I am in Portugal right now.
Okay. I'm from Faro, actually.
Oh, really? Okay. So I'm in your place, in your country, but I'm Greek originally. Just being here the last week, practically. And we did the ceremony here.
Yeah. Nice.
I'm so curious about this.
So it has been very, very interesting from all sides. I already have some feedback from some of you, like written after the experiment. Some of them are super interesting. Today there was a very interesting incident that happened simultaneously with the feedback. But let's wait for the others to be here. So we'll wait like 2 minutes and then we can start the sharing. And also explaining you a little bit about the experiment. Hey, Danny. Good to see you.
Hello.
Hello, hello.
Hello. Hi.
So Danny, Jeremy, and Anton have been the ones who were together with me backstage creating it, practically what you experienced. And they have been an amazing team.
Thank you for having us, Aliki. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. So some of them are trying to connect. Hey, Roshni, welcome, welcome. Joining from Rome.
Hello.
Morgan's was trying to connect. Let me see. So yeah, the experiment the last week ended up being a little bit different of what we were thinking in the beginning, but in our opinion ended up being much better, actually much nicer outcome and much more impactful than what we were initially thinking. And that's why we will tell you after how is it going to continue, but a little bit about it. This experiment actually started as a crazy idea between Danny and myself, thinking of how can we create community if we are not all of us in the same place. And we were both like, let's see if that's even possible, because it's impossible to have everybody in the same place. And sometimes it's also not viable. And we started experimenting with this idea and playing with this idea. And at some point, for a very good friend, I got introduced to Jeremy. And we started talking about water. And all of a sudden, it was like a glimpse in my head, like, wow, yeah, water is the underlying network that nature has been using forever to transfer information. So if we believe that we can create a vibration field that will connect a community, because in the end, community is the feeling that you are with your own people, right? That you are with your tribe, if we break down what community really means, and being able to exchange resources, exchange information, being able to have this flow, this free flow of information. So then I'm like, okay, so maybe water is the answer for us to be able to connect. And I really remember when Jeremy, we were talking about something completely different, and Jeremy was like, Aliki, I just want to remind you that one of my passions is to explore consciousness and water. And I'm like, okay, there is something there. Now you got me.
Cool.
And then we start saying, okay, let's see what can come out of that and how we can push a little bit further what actually in the laboratory of Anton in Aquasci have already been testing that I had no idea personally. They have already been testing how to affect water non-locally, meaning I'm here, the laboratory is in Germany, and I can still create differences in the water sample that is, I don't even know how many kilometers we're away, but some 1,000 kilometers away. And we're able to test that by now, which is already quite surprising and quite amazing in terms of science. So we paired up, and through a very, very interesting flow, I'll have to say that, because it is water in house, I guess that it might have helped us also into creating the flow between the team. We end up creating what you experienced last week. And together with what you were experiencing, there were also two other underlying streams happening at the same time. Hey, Morgans, you managed it. Good. I'm explaining a little bit about the experiment. So yeah, together with the experience that you had, there were two different streams running parallelly. One was Anton making the actual results of how we're affecting the water sample at the time live. So like at the time we're focused our attention into the water through the meditation. And the second one was through the cymatics that you were seeing at. So what you were seeing was practically what you were hearing, what you were saying was the same thing, meaning the vibration that was created from the sound was the vibration that was created in the images of the water, of the cymatics that you were seeing in your screen. And that was the way to keep the feedback loop of the connection between yourself and the water in an artistic way, because we wanted to make it as a beautiful experience also, not just hardcore science. So that was one of our bigger goals, practically, how to make it also interesting, because usually science just charts and nothing else. And it's like super boring if you're not like a science nerd, as we kind of are a bit. So this is a little bit of what you were experiencing then. And one of the most important parts of this experiment was actually how to connect what we are seeing in the graphs that Anton will present you later on, and what does that mean in the human experience? Because science until now has been very disconnected. So we understand how we affect matter, but we don't connect it of what does it mean for us? Like, what do you feel when you're affecting the matter in that specific way? So that was the part that Danny was taking care of. And it was very interesting to see your answers through the questionnaire. So that's why the questionnaire, to be able to compare two different types of results. The logical one, let's say, and the subjective experience, so the experience, the human experience, and see if there are relationships between these two. And this, of course, will go on over time, and the more you test, the more clear results you get. But it was, I think we already have some very interesting realizations already from the first one. So thank you all for making the questionnaire. It was really interesting to see the answers. But we were still missing one very important part, which was like to hear what came into your mind and your hearts while you were experiencing this event. I know already some super interesting insights and some super interesting states that people got into, and I was really touched actually to receive some of the feedbacks. But I feel that there is more, and I feel that these insights can actually help us to shape the next steps of the experiment in a way that we can keep intensifying this experience and keep creating in the same path of creating community through water, because in the end that's the whole point. So I would like to open it for whoever would like to share a little bit of, it can be anything, meaning it can be what you felt, it can be how you felt about the meditation, it can be what kind of insight you had after, like literally everything that is connected. If thoughts came to you later on, could be also. One of the important parts is that the flow of information that we have been creating that might even interlace between all of you, and that's what we are open to explore today. That's why the call anyhow, just to see the intersections, if they were, and how did you felt about it. So I'm really happy to hear whoever wants to take the lead.
I'll share.
Perfect.
Yeah, I remember during the meditation just feeling super energetic. Like it was like almost like, like, yeah, like a buff. I was like, I had my water, I wasn't close to water, but I had a big gallon of the water from my cousin, like the one that she drinks, because here next door we can drink the water from the tap. So we have to have like, filter water. So I had that, and she has been keep drinking it. So I've been asking her if she's feeling any, because like pretty much that was like the water that I used for the experiment. But yeah, I remember like seeing it in front of me and just feeling super like, yeah, like a lot of energy flow coming through it. So, and I felt very connected. It wasn't to the water sample, I think for me it was more just to the general community. I just felt that, to the bigger group.
Thank you so much. I will be posting your comments to our chat just for us to have a visual, like just to have all the information there. So if you see me typing, I'm totally with you. I'm even more with you. I'm just typing what you're saying and posting it in our chat. Roshni, if you're talking, we don't hear you.
Oh yeah, actually.
Roshni, you want to speak?
For me, it was more so, it was a good connection with, I had invited my boyfriend to sit with me and join, and I really enjoyed it because the science of it, the views of it, the resonance of it, I feel like we're able to attract more people when we can kind of explain what it is or show something. And so it was very inclusive for me. So that's what I liked. And it more for me, it was, I remember before on being very conscious when you're drinking water, and I had lost that. I wasn't doing that anymore. So this having these specific bottle that was for me for a day and a half was like, okay, when I drink this, I want to make sure that I'm aware, because I feel like it's sacred water. And now I'm able, it just kickstarted me to do it for even food. And I remember taking it back to like a few of my Indian friends who bless any food before they eat it. And now it makes me realize, yeah, food is completely water, so how we can change that. So that was really good for me. And I'm still doing it to this day, even what is it, a week now? And so I'm hoping that it's going to stay with me for all the food and the water that I'm putting into myself. But also I had a few bottles for many friends, and it was a great way for me to share it with them and ask them, hey, when you drink this water, really take it in, imagine it getting to all your cells. And so I'm hoping that they can take that, and I'm sharing with them. This is why I'm excited. I told them that, hey, wait a little bit, I'm going to tell you the results of what we did, in hopes that they will also continue to try to take that for anything that they put into their bodies. So I'm really looking forward to the results to kind of share with people who aren't like us, where we already really believe in this, you know? So that was for me.
Thank you, Roshni. Thank you taking it also one step further and actually sharing the water with more people. It would be really interesting to see how they were feeling also. Thank you.
Well, I would love to. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine.
I really resonated what Rosny said, so I would love to touch that subject more. So I did it with my brother, and for us it was just like a super heart connection experience with the whole community and between us two. And what really got into my awareness was how much power we as humans hold, and we have the power to put parts of our consciousness and our intentions into other things than ourselves, and that was a really beautiful experience to feel that, because as Roshni said, like everything is basically just water molecules, and we can affect it by sending compassion and love, and to send more and have more of the community putting the collective consciousness with love into the water that surrounds us is just so important. I notice, and as Rosny like started to bless my food even more since the experience, which been very grounding, and yeah, that's it's super cool when you can put the scientific part of it also in, because you can start this other merging of two different fields that I feel isn't so connected at the moment, like the studies on how consciousness affects physical matter, which I think can bring it forward a lot. So super grateful to be a part. Thank you so much, everyone who joined.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to hear you did it with your brother.
So I'm going this time. So for me, it was kind of weird, because when I did the experience, I was waiting another different thing, but I do save the place and the space to do it like with a lot of love. So I really said like a special time for me and for my family to do it. And it really takes me time, and I really was waiting for the time. No, I'm busy, I have this. It was like very important meeting. And then with all the bottles of water, when we did the meditation, it was, for me, passed like very fast. I love the colors and the music. Even if I was like closed eyes in some moments, I don't feel nothing special in this moment. But after, when it finished, I was like, oh, it's already finished. Like I wanted to do more. And the feelings of the water after, as Roshni says, and also Morgan's, is like a completely, the water after was like the holy water. So every time you drink this water or you put it into food, you want to save it, to have like little pieces of this water, like really take care of this holy water. And it really changed the rapport of holy water because it's holy, and we need to rethink this, and to know that the water can really contain information, and we can prove this scientifically. Is very interesting. Like some friends, they were thinking like, you are so hippie, you think it's weird, because I was trying to make some friends to come, and they were like, no, actually it's so weird. And then they are curious, they want to know the results. And I speak with my husband and another friend who are really like mind guys, and they were like, well, you think it's weird, but they were interested and open to hear. So that was nice. I still have a little bit of water. I love you guys.
Thank you. Thank you for this insight, actually, of the different approaches on it. It is one of the reasons that we are doing it to really show the underlying layer of that, yeah, we can prove already these things that we have been talking for a very long time.
Yeah. No, Alejandro, I really felt like the same as you, that I was really, I had really calmed down before. I had made a fire, I had done a longer tea ceremony, had been constantly watched by this young goddess sitting there in the chair. And well, I had been hanging, and the moment I went into meditation, I was really surprised how deep I went in, how it felt like super short. And I really also didn't look at the screen at all because I just didn't even realize. But at the same time, it really felt like very, very powerful and calming in a way. So, well, the water, I must admit, we have our own water pump here, and it had just been changed. So the water tastes very metallic in a way, and probably that's because of the pump. So I've not been drinking a lot of it, but I still keep it, and I'm gonna experiment with tea, I guess. So yeah, no, but it's been very interesting. And I'm very happy to hear what the what the science says now about it. Thank you, Aliki. And
thank you, Moritz. It would be wonderful to hear your experience if you brewed tea with it. I mean, Moritz is a tea master. I can say that, I think. And he has a very refined taste with tea, and the water, actually, I have experienced it myself, but it really changes the way that his teas even taste, even if it's the same tea. So I would be very interested to see if you brewed tea with it, how it felt. Maybe just text me how it feels.
oh, I will let you know.
Hello. Maybe now I can talk. I don't know if you're listening to me. If you can listen good. So first I want to say thank you for this experience, and I really enjoyed the cymatic visuals. Sometimes I open my eyes and during the meditation, which I felt it could be a bit longer, but I really enjoyed. I felt really grounded, and I felt really connected with the water somehow. Within myself, we are lots of water, and within the community in general. And yeah, I felt like that I also, like Morgan said, and Rosnit, about the water, that I was not feeling. Sometimes we just drink water and we forget about how important and that we are part of it. That and I felt that more for the water that I was drinking next. I felt that I was really making a pause a lot of times before actually drinking it, and realizing about the flavor and imagining how good can it actually do for my body. And yeah, I don't know if it changed much about the food, but I tried to make tea also, and it was really good. And yeah, I'm just grateful that I can have this experience, and I'm looking forward to know more about the results and everything.
Thank you so much, Carlos, for sharing. Yeah, it's always super interesting to see the different people having different types of experiences in it. Thank you. And also the ones that are connected with the others. Alex, I think.
So actually this meditation was quite interesting for me, and I made a lot of realization where I realized actually that I needed that what was actually my purpose in life. So I'm really connected to love. My purpose is to express to the world how pure this, how love as a pure energy is the key, and how to change this, how to make this world a better world through this pure energy of love. So during this meditation, I was so aligned and with my true self, and yeah. So I made this meditation with my girlfriend, which was we had a completely different experience. We live in the city of Aix, and so quite noisy actually. And so after the meditations, she couldn't stay into the city, so she went into at her mom's place in the countryside to take some time for her, which is actually pretty nice. But yeah, everyone has their different way of had their different experience, which is amazing. I was really feeling connected to the water, not the water in front of me, but the water inside of me. But yeah.
Thank you so much for the experience. It's very interesting actually to see the difference between your experience and Alex. Alex was the one who sent the video that you might have seen, all of you, in the WhatsApp group. And as far as I know, she had a very deep inner transformation, and like redefining and asking a lot of things and wondering, and we had a little bit of a chat. So I'm happy to see that she's in nature actually. I think that's probably the best feedback ever.
She really needed it, and yeah, it's just amazing how nature can bring harmony into your life, and yeah.
So it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see some of you connecting more to the community, some of you connecting more to yourselves, some of you connecting more to the idea and the element of the water. I guess you're all super curious to get to know a little bit more about the results by now. Thank you so much for sharing everything. It's everything also written in the chat if you want to see it again. And there are more feedbacks, but I will allow the people to share it when they are personally in the call. And somewhere here, I feel like calling Jeremy to tell us a little bit more, because Jeremy is our water shaman. Don't see him that he's dressed up in the scientist's coat. That's just a coat. The real Jeremy is much deeper than what he's gonna say, and we would love to hear more about why water and how is the connection. What do we know about water?
Well, thank you, Aliki, and thank you everyone for such a beautiful expression and commentary. It's really touching to see, all of us come together cohesively with our perspectives and how we were affected. A lot of the experiments that we've done with our test subjects have been, crowdsourcing via the internet. So we don't always have this type of feedback. So this is really cool that Aliki's kind of brought us together in this project to kind of like, hone in and get to know our experiment groups and kind of also build interpersonally together. And so just a quick insight, I also kind of had a deep experience, even though we were kind of in the background, running the operations and getting the experiment up and running and formatting. I definitely, like, it spoke to me. Like when it finally aired and we put the content up there and we all kind of came together in the moment, like it affected me deeply and reached me just like, you know, water always does when I connect with it. And so that was real special. I felt like a warm connection and it felt really authentic. And I was just really grateful to be there. And kind of as Rosny was saying, it was a reminder for me because a lot of times I go in and out of the spiritual and the science. And sometimes I'm like so over here in the science trying to build logic and do things that I forget how I got here. And how I got here was through like the passion and the spirit of the water and the message of the water. So it kind of reminded me of that. So thanks for that grounding, Aliki, for bringing us together around that. I'd like to just give a little bit of context on the background. I know it seems a little bit like weird science, but I think the context will give you a little bit of understanding on how this kind of came to be within a scientific method and protocol. So can I get a screen share? Is that possible? Okay, perfect.
You should be able to check.
Okay, awesome. So, you know, I started my background research with water, you know, about 12 years ago. I worked with Dr. Masaru Emoto, and I went into a lot of etheric sciences, and I even went down the conventional scientific research pathway as well. And what I really kind of fell into the path of, like, you know, affecting matter with consciousness and measuring that and trying to attach a metric to that. And so I've done a lot with crystallography, plasma technologies, and also cymatics. And the essence of it is really creating like a balanced fulcrum within any system that you're taking a measurement from. And so I learned a lot from that. And that was kind of really an interesting and insightful pathway. And so Anton and I met at the Conference on the Physics, Chemistry, and Biology of Water in 2013. And I was presenting research on vibration phenomena, and Anton was actually, I think he was working with the conference, with the organizers. So he was kind of running around doing a lot of things and stuff like that. But we got teamed up with some researchers who were doing measurements of water samples that had been affected by homeopathic processes and digital imprinting and things like that. And so, you know, we spent a few years after we grouped together kind of trying to quantify the effects of homeopathy and digital imprinting. And so what we were doing is we were utilizing electrochemical impedance methods and protocols to try to tease out data during the electrochemical process in measuring water, to try to tease out information of the homeopathic remedies that were being imprinted in water. And this was following like the pathways of like Jacques Benveniste and Luc Montagnier and Gerald Pollack, who's actually chairman of the conference that we were presenting at. So the conference really gave us an insightful forum to explore science from a non-conventional aspect, but being surrounded with all these, like, you know, leaders of academic science and also industry. So we were like at this like boundary condition where we could kind of explore both worlds. One phenomena that we ran into with measuring digital imprinting and homeopathy in water was that, which is really interesting, is the conscious observer effect. So we found that we couldn't control for the conscious observer while we were measuring for digital imprints in water. So what happened was we ended up utilizing that mechanism to explore the conscious observer and how to measure that. And so we kind of did some experimentation and presented some work in regards to how, when you observe the electrochemical process that's happening during the measurement, you're collapsing the wave function, similar to the quantum experiments, the double slit experiments, and things like that, and you're able to see a change. And so we ran a series of experiments on that, and we found that it'd be great if we could reach a larger crowd source. And so what we were able to do was expand beyond our existing inner community of scientific researchers and reach to a larger audience. And so that's how AquaSci was birthed. And so we set up a platform with Anton, and Dr. Serge Kernbach out of Stuttgart, Germany, is the one who basically built a lot of the sensors and algorithms that measure the effects on water that we're working with. And it gave us a way to kind of just reach into a larger experiment group and see if we can kind of set up the platform to be able to gather more data. And so there's a long road to go. What we're able to show in the research, and so what I'll do is I'm going to post this link in the chat so you guys can research some of these abstracts here, so you can kind of see the pathway it took to get here. And then I'll switch over, let's see, to another page. Okay. So what happened was we were able to, let me see if I can find let me find the results so I can kind of go into some relevance here. Just give me 1 second. Here we go. So we were kind of searching for ways to set up a controlled experiment, and we found that if we measured the system over time during a continuous measurement, so the sensors are always running for 24 hours a day. And so we found that a background measurement here, like in the beginning, you can see, and this is the effect that we made, is kind of our control. So basically the system that has not been affected up until the actual impact. And if you see on the right-hand side here of the screen, this little gray area, this is our impact. So what we're doing is we're measuring this curve against this curve right here. And so you can see a significant impact. And so essentially that's how we set up a control and an actual test group to measure against. And so Anton will go into that with a little bit more detail, but I just wanted to give you a little bit of context to how we got here with electrochemistry and actually measuring the conscious observer effect. So what I'll do is I'm going to switch over to cymatics real quick and give you an idea of how that kind of came to be. And let me pull up another screen here, 1 sec. There we go. Okay, so we were talking in our meetings with Aliki, like how could we actually make this more visually interesting? Because part of the effect of setting up the conscious observer effect is setting up a feedback loop. So if anybody remembers from the 1980s, your video camera, if you take the video camera and you shine it at the TV, you get a picture within picture within picture within picture. Well, what we're doing with the conscious observer effect is the more people come together collectively to observe an object, it sets up a feedback pattern, almost like when Jimi Hendrix has his guitar and he lifts it up and he puts it next to the amp and all of a sudden you get this feedback. Well, that's the same kind of phenomenon that we're leveraging within our experiment. And so with that being said, the more focus, intention you have on the experiment, the more that feedback loop builds. And so we were looking for a way to actually engage people visually so we can actually create a dynamic where people were focused in on a meditative state. They had a sensory image that they can kind of connect to, and that would kind of help build the focus. And so we thought, okay, what would be better than doing cymatics? Because everybody loves like standing waveforms and beauty. So then we thought, okay, let's take it a step further. Let's try to take the actual music from the event, which we thought was going to be live from the event, but we kind of realized there was a lot of connection problems. So we reformatted our experiment and we used actual music from the event that was pre-recorded. And we created a standing wave with the music so we can embed the music in the imagery and also gather the experiment group's attention into the experiment. And so what we did essentially is we created a standing wave, which we were sending the music through. And this is just kind of an example. And so that gave us kind of a visual sensory component to actually increase that feedback loop. And also, you know, we're artists and we love to like, you know, how to explore visual aesthetics. So it was just a perfect component to you know, express ourselves artistically, but also scientifically within the experiment. So that's kind of what the setup was. I could play a quick video to show you behind the scenes what we did for the recording. It's really simple. Over the years, I've really learned how to like come up with a really simple, concise way to set up cymatics that's not too complicated. I've learned over the years that to balance and create a standing waveform, like the smaller the experiment, the better. And so that's why this is a really simple setup compared to what we've done in the past. So basically we're running music through a surface transducer that's down here at the bottom. That's just a little surface transducer with a 3D printed vessel that's vibrating the water transversely. And we're recording that. and with the music from the Music Medicine Festival. And that's kind of the visual standing wave that we kind of integrated into our experiment. We did a little bit of post-production in terms of, I did a color treatment to kind of match the festival. And then I did a little bit of graphic treatment around it as well. But the actual content and the standing wave itself is an authentic representation of the music. And so that kind of concludes the contextual portion of the presentation here. And I'm open for questions now or later. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeremy, for creating so much beauty actually for the results. I think all the three other of us were really, really impressed by the outcome when we saw it. And then we knew that it was the actual water that we were looking at. And personally, I have to say that as I was looking at the cymatics, I was really feeling my brain structure getting recalibrated. So that's maybe a next step of, or another experiment of understanding what is actually happening through looking at these forms, like live. But that's for probably another further experiment.
And just one last thing, I'll send in the chat or after this in the chat, WhatsApp chat. There's some papers on people utilizing like standing wave visuals to stimulate right and left hand sides of the brain and visual cortexes to be able to work with like autistic people and things where people need some kind of stimulation to be able to kind of balance their consciousness state. So there are people kind of working with this like, you know, function to be able to heal and do all kinds of things through the sensory perceptions. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Super interesting because it does go in the direction of the conversation that we opened with Dani, and she can tell us like later on. But before we go there, let's go a little bit more into the scientific part. And Anton, if you want to tell us what do these lines mean on this graph, because most of the people here usually they don't work with graphs and with scientific results.
Okay. Thank you. Hi everyone again. Aliki, thank you very much for organizing this, and I think it's really a very important part. And with haven't done this before, you know, like talking to people like in live and asking what they really felt and about their experience. And I think it's like very important. Like last summer, like this summer, which just finished, we were doing like pretty like often experiments, maybe a few times a week. And sometimes like I realized that people maybe lose like interest in doing like over like experiments. And we were telling people like, okay, just like forget about the water that you want to like get results. Just like focus on your like own, like what you get, like how you feel and what is your, how it makes you feel, what changes like in your life you can achieve. And this is like because it's a goal, not to kind of know, it kind of works, so we can influence the water, the distance, but eventually we want to, in general, like improve like world and our lives with this like, phenomena, let's say. Yes, and so about the technique and the device. So just show you quickly, so you also have kind of like understanding what is the device, how it looks. It looks like this is not the actual device that we used. The actual device was in Germany, in the closed lab. They have all this thermal insulation, so there's no influence on it from outside. It's a little bit like historically why it has like two channels, because initially this device was developed to measure like all small, like really weak influences, to test and to study weak influences, like Jeremy told, like for example, informational signals derived from substances and other like informational like products or something like this. And they would use these two channels. They kind of have the equal channels, have both of them electrodes and usually distilled water. One of them would be considered as a test channel, where they will apply some kind of like effect or something, and that would be a control. So they would stay in the same like place, isolated, etc. And one would be kind of over time, because we're recording over time, so we can see this one stays the same, and another one, the test one, like changes when we apply some kind of like force or something like this. So this is like why we have, for example, in this device two channels, and why on the graphics you also will see two channels. One sec, I'll just show you the presentation. Yeah, it's just like can you see my screen? Yeah, so this is just in general like setup how it works and connected to the website, our concept platform. We have this device, it's connected to our website. People can go and book or create experiments, invite many other people. During the session, we see the image, and in the cymatics video Jeremy made, he also put the image of actual water sample. So at least like at some period of time, you could see it and you would kind of be connected to this sample. So people would like look at this picture. Some people just a little bit look and then close eyes and go into meditation. And I think this is the most like unusual thing from point of view like science. Like how can you influence something through the photo, something that's maybe 1,000 kilometers away? So like currently like there's no like answer how that is possible. Some people considering that photo is some kind of entanglement key to the real object, or maybe it helps people, I don't know, just to think about the object and somehow they influence actual water. I mean, there's no like actual explanation how can you like affect something through the photo just by staring at it, but that's what we actually like doing and try to like also understand and verify whether it's yes or no, or when it's yes, and what are conditions for no. And after the session, we will have those like results, which also will show you just directly from the website. So in our session, like, and what all this graphs means also, as Jeremy mentioned, device works 24 hours a day. It's like 7 days a week. It's always working, always recording data. And yeah, before we had these two channels, we thought we'll be concentrating our attention on one channel, and another will work as a like control, and then we will compare two channels and see whether we had effect. But later, and with all this data we were like getting for over a year, now we understood that those channels are stay kind of close to each other, and probably if we influence only one of them, both of them will be reacting. Not always. There is some like still questions open, but we cannot consider one of the channel is a control and another is a test. And so we're kind of considering two of them test channels. And the control part, how do we like do what we do? What is control? Yeah, what we use to compare results. It is like a time domain, let's say, that we see what as values were before we started the experiment, before we started to influence the water. And on the platform, we usually give the graph 1.5 hours before the actual session started. And this gray area, it's where we had a session. And the red and black lines, it's electric conductivity of water of both channels, channel 1, channel 2. And recently, 1 month ago, we added also a temperature sensor to the device. It's measured like really, really precisely. It's like something 0.00001, like plus minus Celsius. And everything like is stable. In this exact experiment, we didn't have like much change of the water or of the temperature of the samples, but we had significant change of the impedance. After also experiment done, we can see like the calculated values. For example, in this like period of time, we had, so we calculate the probability, and this is, I think, the most like important parameter now. We're comparing this decline, how much these curves decline compare to the background measurement. And then in our database, we also have those kind of values for previous sessions where like nobody influenced. Like let's say we take like a week of previous measurements and we compare this value to those previous measurements and see how probable that actually this influence was just random And if our probability of random is high, so for example, we have here the pro value like close to 1, it means that this influence wasn't like very big. It was like kind of small influence, and that could just happen because something, water has its own like dynamics, and nothing special happened to the water per se at that time. But if our pro value is closer to the like 0, or like at least below than 0.5, it means that yeah, it's actually something happened to the water like this. Because here you can see the next session. Just like a little bit clarify what this also part means. On the platform, we can create experiments like each half an hour. Time of actual broadcast the day was like shifted. It started at 17:20. So actual effect, it started like somewhere like in this area when we start meditation, and this session starts here at 9:30. So here we kind of people watching this video and trying to affect it, and then what actually like got and start have a significant change at about actually at the time when the video almost finished. Yeah, at approximately the time we like start dropping the numbers, and we can see that kind of session before that the water was pretty stable, not much change, and in this session where we were like influencing, it was significant like drop. And the next session water kind of like let's say recovered and went back to its normal position. It had this psi value. The intensity of the influence was like low again. Yeah, so we're still like trying to like improve the methods of how we like collect and process the data. We're finding that we really need to repeat experiments a few times to have some statistics, because yeah, water just by itself can go up and down and different things happens. But once you have statistics, then you can say, aha, so this happens once, twice, you can repeat it. It means there is real like influence and was done to the water. Yeah.
If I can add something to that as well, Anton. You mentioned that we don't really quite understand the mechanism of how we can affect something with our conscious observation at a distance. But one interesting aspect that we know about the electrochemical process that's happening within the water measurement is what's called the proton tunneling effect. So anytime you run an electrical current through water, the proton and the matrix of protons are actually kind of aligning, much like the standing wave that's aligning with the cymatics. Same thing's happening within the matrix of water. And so there's been a lot of discussion that the proton tunneling effect is actually kind of tapping into the quantum field. And so I don't want to get too woo-woo with the whole quantum conversation, but there is some kind of dynamic that we can say we are connecting into a quantum type dynamic field when we affect the experiment, which is kind of happening at the macro scale in the water sample as well. So it kind of unifies the whole micro to macro and that mesoscopic in between. It's kind of like unifying that feedback loop. So there are conversations around the mechanism behind that. And I guess the one thing is, it's kind of like very sciencey and complicated when you kind of listen to us explain it. But the key is we've always been like looking for like methods and protocols on how to like make this more digestible for a larger audience. And so like, that's why this is really important, this project with Aliki and Danny, to kind of figure out ways to where we can kind of make it more interesting and engage people in experiment groups where we can kind of make it beneficial. That's just kind of from more of like a generic perspective, like, we all came together, we all had a better understanding of water. That's really important. But in the background, we are doing some pretty significant scientific methods and protocols to quantify that. So how do we balance that is kind of what we're always working on. It's a work in progress.
Yeah, also like one thing that like the question when we started like the platform was, what will happen to water if like thousands of people will concentrate, like, meditate on the water sample through the picture, for example, at the same time, what will happen? And like so far it's like still open question. We didn't have like thousands of people at the same time doing this, And but we trying to like compare, like for example, we had sessions with like 300 people at the same time. So far we couldn't like see that's like, for example, 300 compared to 3 people, like many statistics, etc. We couldn't see that water like going crazy when have like more people, much more people. And yeah, I mean, like you would expect it would be definitely bigger effect, but I think question may be about synchronicity. And like you're pulling water in different directions and then it doesn't go anywhere. And so like now we have a question, how do we like even synchronize people more? Because initially we didn't have like meditations even. People will be just like watching the water sample and doing whatever they want to do. And now we're trying to do with the meditation, guided meditation, and see whether that will help people to be more maybe like a one, and therefore have like stronger like effect.
Yeah, and I want to say one last thing. So if there's anybody in the group that's kind of done any research into like psi phenomena and psi sciences, it's kind of like using the science of probability in like random number generators. So what's happening within the polarization of the electrical conductivity experiment is kind of like a random number generator. As the current's happening, the poles are flipping over and over again. And so our algorithms are kind of scanning through those data to find out the probabilities versus the psi values. And so we're actually pulling in the data in that kind of format in a way, if that makes any sense. So just wanted to add that. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Before we move on, I would just like to open a little bit because it's a big discussion, because the graph can be a little bit misunderstanding of why is it going down. So I would like to invite you, Jeremy, to open up a little bit the conversation that we had the other day, that in these types of graphs, the up and down is practically not necessarily better or worse as we're used to think of, but it's just like where I will just leave it to you to explain that.
So what we've done is we've kind of seen over a series of experiments that sometimes we'll see an increase in impedance, or we can just say conductivity, or a decrease. And we haven't been able to characterize that from experiment to experiment because it's kind of random. It goes back to that quantum randomness. And that's the essence of water. Like water's changing in Brownian motion, like in femtoseconds. And so we're seeing just in a more of a macroscopic view of that happening within our data sets. And so what we're actually doing is we're just kind of looking at the experiment from an orders of magnitude change, whether we're increasing or decreasing in impedance. We have a long road to go to actually like characterize that, but the more data that we pull in and the more we can kind of control for an experiment that maybe we can kind of characterize what an increase or decrease means, then we'll be able to kind of pull out more information and resolution out of that. But for now, we're just looking for orders of magnitude change. And so when you look at the background measurement compared to the impact, we're actually seeing a change. And so, yeah, we're trying to kind of figure out the logic on how to present that, because sometimes people think, okay, if we made a decrease, what does that mean? If we made an increase, what does that mean? But that's really hard to kind of nail down. So that's why we're trying to simplify the logic with comparing the probability with the psi value. And the psi value is the amplitude of how much effect we made. And then you come up with a score. And now the score is kind of our simplified approach to kind of giving a value to the effect that we made. And so that's where we're at now, but we're open to changing that format as we go. I hope that gave some insight.
Thank you for that, Jeremy, because for me it was important to understand that there is no actual, it's only important how much is the actual effect, not if it's positive or negative in the chart.
Yeah, you want to know just one extra interesting cool thing. It actually relates to gravity and levity within a system. So there's a specific gravity that's happening during the electrochemical changes and exchanges of ions within the water sample. So that increase and decrease in impedance actually is connected very specifically to gravitational fields within the experiment. So let your mind wander on that for a little bit. That's pretty interesting.
And actually that's gonna be my invitation. Like, you are being given quite a lot of information in this call. The importance is not necessarily to understand with intellectual mind everything, because it's a very, very big deep field. And don't forget that, I mean, these kind of experiments have never been happening before. So that's why the results are an exploration practically. It's an exploration that we are all understanding the element and at the same time pushing further what the scientific field that is connected to consciousness. So I would like to invite you, from the information that is coming in into this call, to just allow it to settle, because there might be interesting insights coming into your minds, even you are not in the scientific field, because consciousness is talking to us through water right now in a more spiritual part. So it's very possible that you will get information that actually we haven't been able to get. So the important part of this experiment is to create a super mind or a super heart, as you want to call it. It's a collective heart mind that allow us to tap into more information that exists in the field anyhow. And we're just finding streams through water, through science, through meditation, through music, through vibration, to receive it. And in that point, I will give it to Danny. And Danny, you want me to share, right? My screen about the results.
Yes, that would be great.
Find it.
So let me first say I feel very grateful to be able to share with you this experience and experiment. It has been actually very interesting challenge for me to bring these two elements, like the science and the spirituality, together. I also want to thank you for being here now and share your experience. I feel very warm and pleased to hear you. And so, yeah, as Aliki said, it all started with a dream of creating and enhancing a sense of community among non-resident members. This combined with a very strong belief in the power of consciousness and an almost mysterious fascination for the element of water. So, going back to the, do you still hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Perfect.
So before going to the experiment, let me first go back to this dream state. So hypothetically, what if we are able to measure an intensified feeling of unity after the meditation? Are we then not able to say that a really small community has been created, at least for the very time point of this meditation? And what if we are able to measure this change also in water? Are we then due it to the deliberate intent of the whole group? Are we then not here to recognize the potential of water to represent a common group vibration? And what if we just dream further and see, like, could water potentially store this group vibration and even feed us back? So all these dreams led us to experience and to reveal the combined potential between consciousness and water in bringing humans together and maybe even store this resonant feeling. We invited you last week for a small journey and asked you in the end some feedback questions. And as you can see here, the feeling of the ambassadors experienced were actually quite well aligned. So we have this openness and love, community, bliss, which actually a lot of you just resonated with. And can you go one further? Yeah. So the first question we asked was about creation. So we were wondering, was there a feeling of oneness or community? Was it created? And the response from you was yes. So 66% of you, of the ambassadors, experienced an increased feeling of connection. And very interestingly, like, this connection was not only observed right after the meditation, but it also persisted for up to 30 hours after the meditation. So after the meditation the next day, 80% of you stated to still have this increased feeling of connection. And then the second question was about relation. So where does this feeling of connection come from? Where does it reside in? And it was very clear that the meditation created an awareness towards the water within you. So 80% of you stated to be more connected to the water within you than to the water in front of you or to the global water. And also a large part of you said to have increased feeling towards the community, towards a global community. And like this controversy was very interesting to see for us, that you see, like, to have a stronger connection within the water within you, but still have a strong connection to the global community. And then the third and last question, which will be about preservation. So we are interested to see whether you, the ambassadors that were meditating in front of a water, will preserve or even enhance this feeling of connection longer than another group which does not consume water, that holds or once held the group vibrations. But this will be for our next experiment. And if we want to conclude, we can see that in this very first experiment, we could feel and observe an increased or persisting feeling of connection that was expressed as an increased awareness towards the water in our bodies, as well as towards the global community. Yeah.
Thank you for these results. So these results will get more and more closer to patterns as we go on with the experiments. But it was very interesting already to see some patterns, mostly the comparison of feeling the connection with the water within, and at the same time feeling the connection with the global community. Because I mean, that's somehow our assumption anyhow, right? So it was like very interesting to see that we're already moving in that direction. Hopefully it will continue, or if not, it will be still interesting. And together with that, and we're thanking all the three of you for presenting the results to the experiment, I would like to invite you that the next experiment will happen on the 12th, so 12th of December 2020. I will post the exact time on our WhatsApp group. It will be a similar format. It might be paired with a different type of music or initiatives. We are checking how it makes more sense. So we keep enhancing the field with also other initiatives that are working on water and consciousness. You will be informed about that, but you can already set the date for December 12th. And we're aiming for 3 similar formats, so we really start getting some real results of what is going on. Because in science, as you know, we have to repeat similar types of experiences to be able to draw some data, some important data. And we do aim to continue with this experiment as a proper scientific experiment. We feel that it's important to not only stay as a beautiful experience, but also to become science that can be evaluated from the global community. And what else did I want to say? Yeah, just opening up the field that whatever you come to your mind, even if it sounds unrelated or related somehow with the experiment, it is very important for us to hear it. So just feel free to just post it in the WhatsApp group. The ones who know me know that this WhatsApp group will remain very respectful, and it will only be about the experiment. So we don't over spam or anything, and we just keep it in the very pure vibration field that it is. And anything else, you can always chat us separately. If you need more information about something, feel free to ask. If there's anything else that resonates or comes from you, we're very, very happy to share. And I don't know if anybody would like to add something on this point, or we can call it a night and wait to see you again in the realm on the 12th. We are aiming to make it a little bit more interactive on the 12th. So we will open in a room like the one we are right now. We will go all together into the meditation, similar to the ones that you have received. And then we will close with questions and answers just after, or sharing experience just after the experiment. So it's more recent and it's more fresh, the insights, and we are able to enhance more the feeling of being part of this water community.
Well, just a very brief remark, because I have just while listening been drinking tea, the same tea from untreated water and some of our treated water, and while the taste does not change a lot, the feeling inside changes a lot. Wow. The treated water does kind of make me feel warmer quite a bit, very interestingly, but while the other one almost made me shiver a bit.
That's a very interesting part.
That's definitely something. I definitely need to make more more trial runs, but sounds interesting.
So you're opening actually a field that goes a little bit beyond, like, and Jeremy knows more about that. In water, it's not only about filtering it from microparticles and minerals,
for sure.
it's also the vibrational field of the water. And that's something that has been, it's still like on the go.
Well, I do know that a lot of these things get lost if you boil the water, which is a big problem with tea. That a lot of the information gets lost if you boil it. I have tried with several informed waters, and I was normally not very interested in the results. And this is actually kind of the first time where I really realized, okay, this is making a positive change in some weird ways. I can't fully describe it and definitely need to check more, but
thank you for this insight. It's definitely something to consider for the next experiment, as well as saying if how much information of the water you need actually to shift a whole bottle. Do you need the whole bottle? Do you need some drops? Or do you, what exactly will create this change in the feeling? There's a lot to experiment, and if we continue along and everybody feels interested on that field, there is really unimaginable heights and lengths that we can go with together with that. So yeah, let's keep that conversation open, because that's very important insights for us, and see how we continue. Anything else that needs to be wants to be expressed? If there's nothing else, I will just, and let me see if you can see my screen. I will just put back our video saying a very beautiful good night for all of you as you're looking at my screen. I think you don't need to hear me there, you can hear me here. I just wanted to leave you with the beautiful images that we had, the lack to have from our team, being created from our team. And just thank you very much for being part of that. It's beautiful to be able to connect with you through all of these ideas and personal interests and professional interests and spirituality and water and consciousness, and going really beyond what most people will even consider that is possible. And I'm really, really appreciating you being part in that. And with no further ado, we'll be communicating for the next experiment, and we are open to everything that needs to be said and communicated through the WhatsApp group until then. I will just leave the video playing, and you can either say goodbye or leave as each one of you feels. That's from my part. It's a very good night and a very, very big thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, guys. This is incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank
Nice to
you.
connect.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Next
See you
time.
on the 12th then.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Water is the common element in all living organisms, supporting the creation of life and the exchange of information between the living systems. It is the underlying network of nature. We know that the molecular structure of water can be altered through human consciousness, and also that the structure of water deeply affects human and non-human organisms. What we don't know yet is how deeply we can connect to the water element, and what would this connection mean for ourselves, our groups and our global community. What is the relation between the vibration of the water we are made of and the feeling of community? Is water an element able to create and maintain resonating fields of coherence in a group? Can the levels of personal connection between the members of a community be enhanced through the consumption of water? Can all of the above happen even when we are not physically together, non-locally? And in the end, how does love, peace and harmony vibrate? With these questions circling in our hearts and minds, we embarked on a journey to find out. 3 scientific teams joined forces to create what you will experience today. In a few minutes, while guided into the meditation, a water sample is being studied for its response to our group vibration, while cymatic visuals of the music are being formed on the water sample you can see on your screen. When considering with which vibratory field to charge the water of our community, we found ourselves realizing that love, peace and harmony are neutral enough to be accepted internationally and powerful enough to be experienced across cultures. The mantra Lula Lula Li, received in divine language, resumes the essence of all humanity, joining hearts and souls together in love, peace and harmony. So for the next couple of minutes, sit comfortably, close your eyes and follow me into a guided meditation that will allow our intention to merge into the same magnetic field of inner and outer waters. Allow yourself to drift into a space of relaxation. Your body settles and your mind follows. You are exactly where you have to be. You are exactly who you are here to become. The whole universe is in absolute peace. Take a deep breath and allow your out-breath to expand around you, creating ripples of love. Bring your awareness in harmony with the whole. Imagine as if the whole was an ocean, calmly waving into existence. The deep waters merging and expanding in harmony with you and around you. Wave after wave after wave, you are carried into your sacred space of inner peace. Drop after drop after drop, your full awareness is concentrated into the waters. The water that is in front of you, the water that is inside you, and the water that is being studied. Merging the waters into the always emerging vibration of life. Keep riding the blue waters of existence while allowing yourself to be water, to be music, to be life. Dance with the sound or stay completely silent. Sing or shake, no matter what expression you may choose for today, allow it to be love. Allow the depth of your soul to come to the surface, powerful yet gentle, active yet unmoved, strong yet flexible, empty yet inexhaustible. It gives birth to infinite worlds, worlds of infinite possibilities, possibilities of love, peace and harmony inside and out. Flowing upwards, come back into your body. Feel the magic that it is to be yourself. Honor your shape, your physicality, your human form. How majestic. Honor life by being fully present, right here, right now. Fill up your nose with air, your mouth with taste, your skin with sensations, and prepare your ears for the sound. Prepare your body for the moves, prepare your soul for the celebration, and your mind for the fun. And yourself to be part of our global community of love, peace, and harmony. I love my heart and soul. I love all humanity. Join hearts and souls together. Love, peace, and harmony. would like to thank you for being part of today's experience. This is simply the beginning of a series of experimentations with consciousness over water. We wish to understand what was your personal journey and how we can make this collective journey even more powerful next time. And the only way we can do this is by asking you. In the link you will see on your screen are a few simple questions created from our amazing scientific team in the US, Germany and Switzerland, working to resolve the mystery of human consciousness while creating beauty on the way. Please take the time to fill it up so we can understand your experience better. We will also be sharing it in the WhatsApp Ambassadors group and in the Facebook page of both Conscious Jams and Music Medicine. Last but not least, I would like to thank from the bottom of my soul Jeremy, Danny and Anton, not only for being a dream team to work with, but even further for being the driving force and the true inspiration for this to happen, as well as the Music Medicine and Dimitrios for creating this amazing global movement of love, peace and harmony. See you at the next times.
And the Music Medicine Live.